and the weight of their new reality was still settling in. While most fans know what happened at Blackwater Ridge, few know what came before, a chilling encounter in the mountains of Colorado, where the brothers faced something older than demons, older than ghosts. Something that didn't burn, but froze. This is Frostbound, a tale of ice, sacrifice, and the thin line between hunter and hunted. So grab your rock salt, check your rearview mirror, and settle in. Because in these mountains, the coldest thing isn't the weather. The road to Blackwater Ridge should have been a straight shot. Dean had mapped it out in his head, Stanford to Jericho, California, where Dad's last lead had gone cold, then north through the Rockies to the Blackwater National Forest. 2 days, tops. But the Impala had other plans. A coughing fit on Route 50 near Moab, Utah, turned into a full-blown engine seizure, leaving them stranded in the desert with nothing but a half-empty water bottle and Sam's increasingly impatient sighs. "Told you we should have taken the bus," Sam muttered, kicking a rock into the scrub. Dean wiped grease from his hands, glaring at the smoking engine. "Buses don't carry rock salt and iron rounds, college boy." Sam rolled his eyes, the same exasperated flicker Dean remembered from childhood, back when Sam still thought homework mattered more than hex bags. But the kid had a point. They were 2 days behind schedule, and Dad's trail was getting colder by the hour. Dean slammed the hood shut. "We'll hitch to the nearest town. Get parts. Fix her." Sam squinted at the horizon, where jagged peaks cut into the bruised twilight. "That is the nearest town." Uray, Colorado, wasn't on any map Dean recognized. The town clung to the mountainside like a secret, a cluster of weathered wooden buildings huddled against the summer heat. Main Street was a single lane of packed dirt, flanked by storefronts with names like the Outlaw Saloon and Miners' Rest Motel. A flickering neon sign buzzed VCNCY above the latter, its red glow bleeding into the dusty twilight. Dean pulled the Impala into the lot, the tires crunching over gravel. The air smelled of pine and something sharper, charred meat, maybe, or old gunpowder. He killed the engine, and the silence rushed in, heavy and watchful. Sam wiped sweat from his brow. "It's like a ghost town." "Is a ghost town," Dean corrected, scanning the empty streets. "Just, still breathing." The motel clerk was a woman with eyes like river stones and hands that moved like she'd seen too much. She didn't ask for ID when Dean slid a 20 across the counter. "Room 4, she said, pushing a key toward him. "Checkout's at 10. Don't expect housekeeping." Dean smirked. "Wouldn't dream of it." She didn't smile back. "You boys here for the festival?" Sam frowned. "Festival?" "The summer solstice," the woman said, voice flat. "Town's been celebrating for 100 years. Brings in tourists. Brings in trouble." She paused, studying Dean's face. "You shouldn't be here." Dean's pulse ticked up. "Trouble. Why's that?" The woman turned away, busying herself with a ledger. "Ask around. If you're still here by midnight." The room was exactly what Dean expected, peeling wallpaper, a bed that sagged like a drunk, and a bathroom mirror fogged with age. He dropped his duffel on the mattress, immediately checking the windows for salt lines. Nothing. Good. He swept the EMF across the room, just a faint hum near the radiator. Nothing alive here. Sam kicked off his boots, rubbing his temples. "We're wasting time. Dad's trail is." Gone, Dean cut in, loading rock salt into the shotgun. I know. But the Impala's dead, and this town's got something. That clerk was just being weird, Sam snapped. We don't have time for every weirdo with a story. Dean met his eyes. You think Mom's death started with a normal story? Sam flinched. The room went quiet. Dean holstered the shotgun. We stay one night. Check it out. Then we're gone. Sam didn't argue. Just nodded, already pulling out his laptop. Fine. But if this is another phantom hitchhiker, I'm driving. The Outlaw Saloon was the kind of place where time moved slower than the whiskey refills. Wooden beams hung low over the bar, their surfaces scarred with knife marks and old bloodstains. A ceiling fan spun lazily overhead, doing little to cut the heat. Dean slid into a booth, nodding to the bartender, a man with a face like a clenched fist, as Sam scanned the room. Tourists, Sam muttered, gesturing to a group of hikers in sun-bleached hats. Probably here for the solstice thing. Dean flagged down the bartender. Whiskey. Neat. He flashed a fake FBI badge. Agent Ford. Following up on missing persons. The bartender's grip tightened on the glass. Which ones? There are more than one. Dean leaned in. Start with the latest. The man glanced toward the back room, then lowered his voice. 3 kids vanished last week. Tourists. Hiking the Ice Cave Trail. Search teams found their tents, empty. No tracks. No blood. He wiped the bar, eyes darting. Town calls it El Hielo. The ice, Sam translated, frowning. What's that supposed to mean? Dean ignored him. Any survivors? The bartender shook his head. Just one. A girl. She woke up at the trailhead, shivering like she'd been in a freezer. Wouldn't stop screaming about the man with no face. He slid the whiskey across the bar. She's in the asylum now. Dean took a sip, the liquor burning a path to his gut. Where's the trailhead? The bartender's jaw tightened. You won't find it. El Hielo hides it. The town library was a converted church, its pews replaced with oak tables and its altar stacked with dusty ledgers. Sam pored over microfiche records while Dean flipped through a brittle newspaper archive. Uray Times, June 15, 1880, local guide found frozen in ice cave, no signs of struggle. Uray Times, June 21, 1923, 3 hikers vanish near Black Mesa, search party disbanded due to unnatural cold. Uray Times, June 18, 1978, teenager survives night in snowstorm, claims Iceman saved her. Dean's pulse quickened. Every 23 years. Always around the solstice. Always near the Ice Cave Trail. Sam tapped a photo in a 1923 issue, a group of miners standing before a cave entrance, their faces grim. Look at the dates, he said. Every incident lines up with the solstice. But this, he pointed to a notation in the margin, guide, Elias Crow. Missing. Dean flipped to the next page. Crow's body never found. Local legend claims he became the Iceman, a spirit who lures the lost to freeze. Sam closed the ledger. It's a ghost story. Probably just hypothermia hallucinations. Dean stood, grabbing his jacket. Then why'd the bartender call it El Hielo? The asylum was a squat brick building on the edge of town, its windows dark except for a single flickering bulb above the entrance. Dean talked his way past the night nurse with another fake badge, FBI, ma'am, urgent follow-up, while Sam lingered in the hallway, eyeing the padded doors. The girl's room was unnaturally cold, the kind of chill that made your teeth ache. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall, her fingers tracing invisible patterns in the air. "Emily," Dean said, pulling up a chair. "I'm Agent Ford. I need to ask you about the trail." Emily didn't look at him. Just kept tracing. Dean tried again. "You saw something out there." "Something, not human." Emily's hand froze. Slowly, she turned. Her eyes were wide, bloodshot, the pupils dilated like she'd seen hell itself. "He has no face," she whispered. "Just ice." Dean leaned in. "What happened?" Emily's fingers dug into her arms, leaving crescent-shaped marks. "We were hiking. It got so cold. Colder than snow. Colder than death." Her voice dropped to a rasp. "Then he came. Tall. Like a shadow. But his skin, it cracked when he moved. Like frozen glass." Sam shifted behind Dean. "Did he hurt you?" Emily shook her head. "He saved me. Carried me through the storm." But when I woke up, she met Dean's eyes, tears freezing on her cheeks. He was melting. The ice cave trailhead wasn't on any map. Dean drove the Impala to the edge of town, where the road ended in a field of sun-baked rocks. He and Sam trudged through the high grass, flashlights cutting through the dusk. The air was thick with the scent of pine and something older, rot, maybe, or the metallic tang of blood long dried. Sam stopped suddenly, his beam catching something in the dirt. "Dean." A set of footprints. Too large to be human, the toes elongated into points, the soles smooth as glass. They led into the trees, vanishing where the shadows swallowed the light. Dean knelt, brushing dirt from the prints. "Not a bear." Sam's breath came in white puffs despite the summer heat. "What is it?" Dean stood, scanning the tree line. "Something that's been here a lot longer than us." The cave mouth was a jagged tear in the mountainside, its entrance framed by vines heavy with summer blooms. Dean stepped inside first, shotgun raised. The air dropped 20 degrees instantly, the kind of cold that didn't belong in June. Sam followed, his light catching the walls. "Dean." The cave wasn't natural. The walls were carved, deep grooves forming symbols that looked like frozen tears. At the center, a pool of black water, its surface smooth as glass. Dean swept the EMF across the pool. The needle spiked, then died. Nothing electronic here. He knelt, running a hand over the symbols. The stone was ice cold, but the grooves felt fresh. Sam crouched beside him. "These look like runes. Maybe Native American." Dean shook his head. "Too precise. Like someone carved them." He stood, scanning the darkness. "We need to find the guide." "The guide?" Sam's voice echoed. "You think this thing has a guide?" Dean didn't answer. Just stepped deeper into the cave, the shadows swallowing his light. They found the body at dawn. Not in the cave. Not even near it. Elias Crow's skeleton lay half buried in the dirt, his bones blackened and brittle, the skull split down the middle like a rotten fruit. But it wasn't the age that chilled Dean, it was the freshness. The ground around the remains was dry and cracked, untouched for decades. Sam crouched beside the skeleton, brushing dirt from the ribcage. This doesn't make sense. If he died in 1880, the bones should be buried under 10 feet of soil, Dean finished. But they're here. Like he just dropped. Sam stood, frowning. What if he didn't die? Dean looked at him. What? What if he's still out there? Sam's voice was low, urgent. The girl said the Iceman saved her. What if Crow is the Iceman? What if he's not a ghost, a curse? Dean's mind raced. The footprints. The carvings. The way the cold moved. A spirit bound to the land. Punishing trespassers. Sam nodded. But why now? Why every 23 years? Dean kicked at the dirt, revealing a glint of metal beneath. He knelt, pulling free a rusted pocket watch. The face was frozen at 11:59. The solstice. He turned the watch over. Engraved on the back, EC, for the lost. The town was different at noon. The streets bustled with tourists in sun hats, laughing as they snapped photos of the weathered storefronts. Dean and Sam moved like ghosts through the crowd, the weight of the pocket watch heavy in Dean's pocket. Sam stopped at a vendor selling hand-carved trinkets. These symbols, he said, pointing to a necklace shaped like a frozen tear. They're the same as in the cave. The vendor, a woman with silver-streaked hair, smiled. Lágrimas de hielo. Tears of ice. Good luck charm. Dean stepped closer. Who carves these? The woman's smile faded. No one. They just appear. She glanced toward the mountains. After the solstice. Sam exchanged a look with Dean. You said this is a festival. What exactly do you celebrate? The woman's voice dropped. We honor the ice. He keeps the mines safe. Brings the snow. She met Dean's eyes. But he demands a price. Dean's pulse spiked. What price? The lost, the woman whispered. Every solstice, he takes 3. To keep the balance. The outlaw saloon was empty at this hour, the ceiling fan spinning lazily. Dean slid into the same booth as last night, Sam across from him. He's not a ghost, Sam said, spreading notes across the table. He's a guardian. Bound to the land by some old ritual. The solstice is when the veil's thinnest, he crosses over to collect his tribute. Dean nodded. Like a pagan god. But why 3? Sam tapped a newspaper clipping. 1880, 1923. 1978, always 3 victims. Always tourists. He looked up. What if it's not random? What if he's choosing them? Dean's mind flashed to Emily's words, he saved me. The girl survived. Because she wasn't chosen. Sam leaned forward. Then how do we stop him? Dean flipped the pocket watch onto the table. We find Crow's remains. Burn them. Break the curse. Sam shook his head. What if he is the curse? What if burning him makes it worse? Dean met his eyes. Then we freeze with him. The sun set at 8:17 p.m. Dean and Sam stood at the cave mouth, the air thick with the scent of pine and something older. The solstice had arrived, and the cold was wrong, thick and hungry, the kind that didn't just chill your skin but your soul. Sam adjusted the duffel on his shoulder, rock salt, kerosene, matches. You sure this is the only way? Dean checked the shotgun. You got a better idea? Sam didn't answer. Just stepped into the cave, his light cutting through the dark. The symbols on the walls glowed faintly now, pulsing like a heartbeat. The black pool at the center rippled, though there was no wind. Dean knelt, pouring kerosene over Crow's bones. Sam's voice was barely audible. Dean, look. The pool wasn't water. It was ice. And beneath the surface, a face. Elias Crow's face, frozen in a scream, his eyes wide and blue as the deepest glacier. His hands pressed against the ice from inside, fingers clawing for escape. Dean's blood turned to slush. He's not the curse. Sam's breath hitched. He's the prison. The cave walls began to move. Not the rock, the ice. It slithered like liquid, forming shapes that shouldn't exist, a towering figure with no face, just a mask of frozen glass, its limbs elongated and sharp as icicles. It stepped from the wall, the temperature plummeting with every footfall. Dean raised the shotgun. Sam, run. But Sam didn't move. Just stared at the thing, his voice trembling. He's not taking 3. He's taking 1. To replace the lost. The Iceman tilted its head, the ice cracking like bones breaking. Dean fired. The rock salt blast hit its chest, shattering the ice, but it reformed instantly, the cracks sealing like a wound healing. Not a ghost. Not a demon. Something older. The Iceman lunged. The Iceman moved like liquid shadow, its form shifting with every step. Dean fired again, rock salt tearing through the ice, but the creature barely flinched. The pellets shattered the surface only for it to reform instantly, the cracks sealing like a wound knitting itself closed. Sam, move. Dean shouted, shoving his brother behind the black pool. Sam stumbled, his flashlight clattering to the ground. The beam caught the Iceman's face, or where a face should have been. Just smooth, glassy ice, reflecting their terrified expressions back at them. It's not attacking, Sam gasped. It's hurting us. Dean risked a glance. The Iceman wasn't advancing. It stood between them and the cave entrance, arms outstretched like a shepherd corralling sheep. To replace the lost. The words echoed in Dean's skull. 1 person. Not 3. Emily survived because she wasn't chosen, Dean said, keeping the shotgun trained on the creature. But who is chosen? Sam's eyes widened. The ones who hear it. Dean frowned. What? The ones who hear him, Sam clarified, voice trembling. Emily heard the Iceman before she saw him. What if that's how he picks them? Dean's pulse roared. Did I hear it? He strained his ears, the cave was silent except for their ragged breathing. No whispers. No footsteps. The Iceman tilted its head, the ice cracking like bones breaking. Then it raised a hand, pointing, not at Dean, but at Sam. Sam froze. Dean. I can hear it. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. A whisper in the blood. A vibration in the bones. "Sammy, come home." Sam clutched his head, doubling over. "It's inside my head." Dean grabbed his arm. "Fight it." But Sam was already stepping forward, drawn like a moth to flame. The Iceman reached for him, fingers elongating into icy spears. Dean fired. The blast hit Sam square in the chest, not with rock salt, but with a rubber bullet John had rigged for emergencies. Sam went down hard, the impact knocking him out of the Iceman's grasp. "Sorry, Sammy," Dean muttered, dragging his unconscious brother toward the entrance. The Iceman didn't follow. Just watched them go, its glassy face unreadable. The motel room felt like a tomb. Dean laid Sam on the bed, checking his pulse, steady, if a little slow. The rubber bullet had left a nasty bruise, but nothing broken. Just like old times. He poured salt across the threshold, then drew a perfect circle around Sam's bed. The EMF sat on the nightstand, silent. Nothing electronic here. Dean lit a cigarette, the flare illuminating the pocket watch in his palm. "EC, for the lost." He turned it over again, searching for answers. "Why Sam?" The Iceman had pointed at Sam. Not because he was chosen, but because he could be chosen. Because he heard it. Dean's blood ran cold. Demon blood. No. This wasn't Azazel's work. This was older. More primal. A force tied to the land itself. He grabbed John's journal, flipping to the section on local legends. Nothing about ice spirits or frozen guardians. Just a single note scrawled in the margin: "Some curses can't be burned. They have to be fed." Federal Dean's stomach dropped. The town sacrificed 3 tourists every 23 years to keep the mines safe. But what if they had it wrong? What if the Iceman wasn't taking 3 people, but 1? And what if that one person wasn't a victim, but a replacement? The town was different at midnight. The festival had wound down, the streets empty except for a few stragglers. Dean moved like a ghost through the shadows, heading for the asylum. Emily's room was still unnaturally cold. She sat on the bed, staring at the wall, fingers tracing invisible patterns. "Emily," Dean said, kneeling in front of her. "I need to know, did you hear it before you saw it?" Emily's hand froze. Slowly, she nodded. "What did it say?" Her eyes met his, pupils dilated. "Come home." Dean's throat tightened. "Sammy, come home, did it ever say your name?" Emily shook her head. "Never names. Just, home. Home." Dean thought of Sam's apartment in Stanford, the life he'd built, the normalcy he'd fought for. This isn't home anymore. He stood, pulling a folded newspaper clipping from his pocket. "Emily, look at this." It was a photo from 1880, the same one from the library. Elias Crow and the miners before the cave entrance. "Who's the man in the back?" Dean asked. Emily's breath hitched. "Him." Dean followed her gaze. Crow stood at the edge of the group, face grim. But it wasn't his face that caught Dean's attention, it was the man behind him. Tall. Impeccable suit. Eyes glowing faintly yellow in the flash. Azazel. But that was impossible. Azazel hadn't been active in 1880. Had he? Dean's mind raced. What if this wasn't just a local legend? What if the Iceman was part of something bigger, something that stretched back decades, maybe centuries? Sam woke at 3 a.m. groggy and furious. "You shot me?" he hissed, clutching his chest. "With a rubber bullet," Dean said, handing him a beer. "You were walking into its arms." Sam sat up, rubbing his temples. "It was calling me, Dean. Like it knew me." Dean didn't meet his eyes. "It's not Azazel." Sam froze. "How do you know?" "Because I found this." Dean showed him the newspaper clipping. Azazel was there in 1880. Watching. Sam's face paled. "That's impossible." "Is it?" Dean flipped open John's journal. "Dad wrote that some curses can't be burned, they have to be fed. What if the Iceman isn't the monster, but the warden?" Sam frowned. "Warden of what?" Dean pointed to the cave photo. "Look at Crow's face. He's not afraid. He's resigned. Like he knew what was coming." He met Sam's eyes. What if Crow volunteered? What if he's not trapped in the ice, but holding something else in? Sam's breath caught. "The thing that needs replacements." Dean nodded. "Every 23 years, the Iceman takes one person, not to kill them, but to replace Crow. To keep whatever's in that ice locked." Sam stood, pacing. "But why me? Why now?" Dean hesitated. "Because you're special. But not for the reason Azazel thought. Sam wasn't special because of demon blood, he was special because he heard it. Because he could be a replacement. Because you're strong," Dean said finally. "Strong enough to hold it." They returned to the cave at dawn. The symbols on the walls pulsed faintly, the air thick with the scent of pine and something older. Dean carried the duffel, rock salt, kerosene, matches. Sam walked beside him, silent and pale. At the black pool, Dean knelt, pouring kerosene over Crow's bones. "Wait," Sam said. Dean looked up. "What?" Sam met his eyes. "What if we're wrong? What if freeing Crow releases whatever's in the ice?" Dean's throat tightened. "Then we freeze with him." But he didn't say it. Just stood, holstering the shotgun. Sam stepped forward, placing a hand on the ice. "Crow," he said, voice steady. "If you can hear me, we're here to help." The ice rippled. Beneath the surface, Crow's face twisted in what might have been a smile, or a grimace. His hands pressed harder against the ice, fingers clawing for escape. Then. A crack. Not in the ice. In Sam. His knees buckled, a scream tearing from his throat. Dean caught him as he fell, lowering him gently to the ground. "Sam! Sam!" Sam's eyes rolled back, his body convulsing. The EMF on the ground screeched to life, needles spiking off the charts. Dean grabbed his shoulders. "Fight it." Sam's voice came out in a guttural rasp, not his own. "He's coming." Then his eyes snapped open. Not Sam's eyes. Yellow. Sam's body convulsed, his back arching off the ground like a bowstring pulled taut. The yellow eyes locked onto Dean, pupils slitted like a cat's. "He's been waiting," Sam's voice rasped, but it wasn't Sam's voice, not entirely. It was layered, like multiple voices speaking through one throat. Waiting for the strong one. The one who hears. Dean drew the Colt .45, hand steady despite the ice in his veins. Get out of him. Yellow Sam laughed, a sound like cracking glaciers. You think this is possession? He sat up, movements too fluid, too precise. I don't possess Sammy. I am Sammy. Dean's finger tightened on the trigger. Bullshit. Yellow Sam tilted his head, studying Dean like a curious child. You think Azazel made him special? That yellow-eyed bastard is just a messenger star. His grin widened, revealing teeth that seemed just a shade too sharp. I am what made Azazel possible, asterisk. The EMF screeched louder. Dean risked a glance, the needle had snapped clean off. Yellow Sam followed his gaze to the black pool. Crow held me for 125 years. But his time is up. He stood, brushing dirt from his jeans with fastidious care. Every 23 years, a new warden is chosen. Someone strong. Someone who hears star. Asterisk, he met Dean's eyes. And Sammy is the strongest yet. Dean's throat went dry. You're saying Sam volunteered? No. Yellow Sam stepped toward the ice. He was chosen star. Asterisk, his hand hovered over the surface. The solstice is here. The veil is thin. Crow's time has ended. He looked back at Dean, yellow eyes gleaming. And Sammy's has begun. The ice shattered. Not with a crash, but a sigh, a sound like winter finally giving up. Elias Crow's body tumbled free, brittle as old parchment, the blackened bones crumbling to dust before they hit the ground. Yellow Sam knelt, pressing a palm to the now exposed surface of the pool. The water, or whatever it was, rippled outward in concentric circles, glowing faintly blue. Dean raised the Colt. Step away from him. Yellow Sam didn't turn. You don't understand, Dean. This isn't a curse. It's a gift star. Asterisk, he stood, turning slowly. Without wardens like Crow, and soon, Sammy, the world would have frozen over centuries ago. The cold that lives in the earth, the ice that predates time, it needs a keeper. A heart to hold it. Dean's mind raced. This wasn't a demon. Not even close. This was something primordial, older than Azazel, older than the Colt, older than evil as they understood it. Yellow Sam took another step toward Dean. You could join him, you know. Be the keeper's keeper. Watch over Sammy as he watches over the ice. His smile was almost gentle. You've always been his guardian, Dean. Why stop now? Dean's hands didn't waver. Because Sam's not a thing to be guarded. He's my brother. Yellow Sam sighed. Sentimentality. The one weakness Crow never had. He raised a hand, and the temperature plummeted. Dean's breath crystallized in the air, the Colt growing icy in his grip. The town was waking up when Dean stumbled out of the cave, Sam slung over his shoulder. The sun hung low in the sky, but the air was wrong, thick with the scent of pine and something older. Tourists milled about Main Street, oblivious to the unnatural chill creeping through the town. Dean kicked open the door to the outlaw saloon. The bartender looked up from polishing a glass, eyes widening at the sight of Sam's yellow eyes. Where's the clerk from the motel? Dean demanded, lowering Sam into a booth. Martha. The bartender pointed toward the back. She's in the storeroom. Dean laid Sam down carefully, drawing a salt circle around him. The yellow eyes followed Dean's movements, unblinking. He's mine now, Yellow Sam whispered. Dean ignored him, bursting into the storeroom. Martha stood among crates of whiskey, her face pale in the dim light. You knew, Dean said, voice low and dangerous. About the warden. About what happens every solstice. Martha didn't deny it. Just nodded, tears cutting tracks through the dust on her cheeks. Crow volunteered. We thought it was a curse. But it's a duty. Dean stepped closer. And Sam? Martha met his eyes. He heard it, didn't he? That's how it chooses. Dean's throat tightened. How do I get him back? Martha shook her head. You don't. Once chosen, always chosen. The ice takes what it needs. Dean turned to leave, but Martha caught his arm. There is one way. Dean froze. What? The ritual isn't complete yet, Martha said. The solstice ends at sunset. If you break the connection before then. She hesitated. You have to destroy the heart of the ice. Dean frowned. What heart? Martha pulled a faded photograph from her pocket, a picture of the ice cave from 1880. In the background, barely visible, was a glacial formation shaped like a human heart. The glacier's core. It's where the spirit lives. Break it, and the Iceman dies. The cave was colder now, the symbols on the walls glowing faintly blue. Dean laid Sam beside the pool, the yellow eyes watching him with eerie calm. He pulled the duffel from his shoulder, rock salt, iron rounds, the pocket watch. Sorry, Sammy, Dean whispered, opening the watch. But I'm not letting you become a monster. He poured rock salt into the pool, then iron shavings. The water, or ice, or whatever it was, hissed and recoiled, the blue glow dimming. Yellow Sam sat up, voice calm. You're hurting him. Dean didn't stop. Better hurt than lost. You think this saves him? Yellow Sam stood, movements fluid as water. Breaking the ritual won't free him. It'll kill him. The ice is in his blood now. Dean froze, salt shaker in hand. What? Yellow Sam stepped closer. The warden doesn't just hold the ice, Dean. The ice becomes the warden. And once it's inside you. He tapped his chest. It's part of you forever. Dean's mind raced. If breaking the ritual would kill Sam, and completing it would turn him into a warden. There was only one choice left. The glacier's heart was hidden deep within the cave system, a cavern of pure blue ice, pulsing like a living thing. Dean moved carefully, the ground slick beneath his boots. At the center of the cavern stood the heart, a formation of ice shaped like a human organ, glowing with an inner light. Yellow Sam followed, carrying Sam's limp body. You can't destroy it, Dean. It's older than time. Dean loaded the shotgun with iron rounds. Then I'll bury it. He fired. The blast shattered the heart's surface, but the ice healed instantly. Yellow Sam laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Foolish. The heart can't be broken by mortal hands. Dean dropped the shotgun, pulling a can of kerosene from his duffel. Then I'll melt it. He doused the heart in kerosene, then lit a match. The flame caught, spreading across the ice. The cavern trembled, the heart glowing brighter as the fire consumed it. Yellow Sam screamed, a sound that wasn't human. Sam's body convulsed, the yellow eyes flashing with pain. "You're killing him!" Yellow Sam roared. Dean stepped closer to the flames. "Then I'll die with him." The explosion threw Dean against the cavern wall. He came to slowly, his ears ringing, the air thick with the smell of melted ice and burnt kerosene. The heart was gone, reduced to a pool of steaming water. Sam lay beside him, breathing shallowly, his eyes back to their normal brown. "Sam!" Dean croaked, crawling to his brother's side. Sam's eyes fluttered open. "Dean, what happened?" Dean helped him sit up. "We broke the ritual." Sam looked around, confused. "The Iceman." "Dead," Dean said. "Or at least, sleeping." He helped Sam to his feet. "Come on. We've got a father to find." The town celebrated the solstice's end with bonfires and whiskey, oblivious to the true cost. Dean and Sam stood at the edge of town, the Impala waiting where they'd left it. Sam rubbed his temples, still shaken. "You heard it, didn't you?" Dean asked. Sam nodded. "It was, calling me home." Dean clapped him on the shoulder. "Well, home's wherever we are. And right now, home's on the road to Blackwater Ridge." Sam managed a weak smile. "You think Dad's there?" Dean opened the driver's side door. "Only one way to find out." As they drove away, the wind howled behind them, a sound like a thing in pain. But ahead, the road stretched empty and dark, waiting.